Hi everyone, we are Fable Gaming HK. Please like and subscribe our channel. Thank you.
Hello, hi everyone. I'm
Hi,
Terry
everyone.
from Fable Gaming HK, and today we're happy to interview PH, who has got one finalist in PROQUEST, and the second is the top 8 in PROQUEST, and he's playing a Levia, and he is one of the most experienced and most competitive Levia player in Hong Kong. And welcome to PH.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody.
Yes, and today we will asking PH a lot of questions about why picking Levia, how he beat other deck, and how he beat the meta, and got the top 8 and finalists in the PROQUEST. And PH, can you tell us why would you picking Levia as a hero you're playing in Fab?
Yeah, the reason why I played Levia is because I started off with this hero, and I actually have a big attachment to the hero itself. And I just kept thinking, you know what, I want to keep making a hero that is not very top tier into a playable hero. So that's why I kept playing Levia. And what I feel is that the meta right now is just StarVoil and Prism, and I don't really want to play those two decks. So I want to play something that's more unique, and something that, you know, is more skill-based, pilot-based, so I could play to the top.
And also you can surprise your opponent.
Yes, exactly. Surprise my opponent because, again, as Terry said, not a lot of people in Hong Kong play this deck. And they wouldn't have a lot of experience on how to beat it.
And how to deal with you.
And how to deal with me. Exactly. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and can you explain to us what is anti-matter as your core philosophy of your playing?
Yeah, so basically what I usually do in every card game I play is I don't play meta, and I do a lot of anti-meta type of playing. So what I do is I read the situation of, you know, in Hong Kong, it's such a highly competitive area. And people don't play tier 2 decks. They don't play
no fun deck at all.
No fun decks in Hong Kong. No one does it. I would do it, but not a lot of people would.
Everyone likes winning.
Yes, everybody likes to win because there's a lot of armories, there's a lot of events, so everybody wants the rewards and the prizes from the events. So even in the older meta, when it was Briar
and much earlier is
earlier, and Chain. It was just those decks. You wouldn't see any other decks around.
You can see the percentage about the matches like 40 to
45. Yeah,
percent of the meta.
I expected StarVoil to be even much bigger. 50, and it ended up being probably 60. 50 to 60% in the earlier PROQUEST. In some PROQUEST, yeah. So that was my read on the meta. It was going to be a lot of StarVoils and a lot of Prisms that are going to be probably trying to counter the StarVoil decks, and a few Rune Blades here or there because of Chain, Viscerai, and these two decks mainly. So the idea of anti-meta is bringing a deck that is under top tier, that can really do well against the top few decks.
Yeah, if you can do the anti-matters to have a more favorable matchup, and your winning way will much higher because most of the people playing the meta deck, and you can deal with more than 60% of your opponent in a favorable matchup.
Exactly, yeah. So basically, we target the higher population of the decks. So StarVoil definitely, and Prism mainly. So with my deck with Levia, it can actually target Prism and quite well. I think Prism quite well, and StarVoil I have a pretty good like win rate against them as well. So the idea of an anti-meta is to basically target these two decks and to win a lot against these decks in the early preliminaries and the Swiss rounds to bring myself to the top 8.
Yeah, this is a very good strategy. And we'll move to the deck building part. Okay, we move back and go to part 2. And can you introduce your deck building? What is your main core and the sideboard, and we can move to equipment first.
Okay, so what I want to do with this Levia deck is mainly to have it revolve around 4 pitch.
4 pitch, 4 resources.
4 resources to play. Yeah, because a lot of the cards in the deck have 2 cost.
2 costs.
And with a blue and a tunic, which is MVP in this deck, it can grant the deck a lot more viability by playing into cards like such as pummels, or even
there's a 2+2 play.
Yeah, 2+2 plays, or sometimes we would play 2 go agains, and then you would swing your weapon for another 2.
Okay,
so,
there's a base 2 attack go again with a 2
resources
club.
weapon club, right? Yeah. So different plays like that, the other cool thing about my deck is I do something called a hybrid.
Hybrid.
Yeah. What hybrid building is basically trying to merge 2 deck types into one, where for example, a guardian deck would play very defensively.
Yep.
An aggro deck such as you know, like a Briar or even a Brute would play very aggressively. So there's 2 ways to play this by, you know, changing the weapons, which is very, very key for Brutes.
Okay, that means you divided into 2 playing styles.
2 playing styles, right?
Yep.
That's the hybrid. So one is the aggressive and one is the defensive. So for each of the builds, I would use different weapons. For defensive, I would use the Romping Club, which is 2 resource for 4 damage.
Yes.
And for aggro, I would use 2 claws.
2 claw.
Which is 2 resources for 3 damage, but if you discarded 6, it gets go again.
Yes.
So it's very, very good for pushing. And other than that, the main equipment would be the tunic. And for the helmet-wise, I would play either skull cap or the hood.
The hood.
Right. So skull cap is mainly for the defense.
Yeah.
So if you're playing a more defensive on the defensive side using clubs, you would use the skull cap.
For more blocking?
For more blocking and basically to block off the hit effects.
Yes.
For example, decks like Dorinthia, Ketsu, and StarVoil, obviously.
Yeah.
StarVoil
the
is
on-hit.
The on-hit effects. You really want to get rid of those.
Yep.
And for other decks, I would probably use the Hope Merchant's Hood, just in case sometimes my hand would be, you know, all reds, or I draw into a bad hand where I can't cancel out the blood debt. I would use this and try to fix my hand.
Yeah.
Okay, just for another
insurance policy.
Exactly, insurance policy to save yourself from dying, because Levi has an issue where she can die to herself.
Yeah.
She can kill herself. But
Suicide.
Suicide, exactly, right. So speaking of which, we would use different equipments and hands.
Yes.
I don't have my gambler's glove with me, but normally I would, for a matchup like a Prism, I would bring in gambler's glove, which would, you know, you would roll a dice and then you would be able to take out
multi-action point to take out the aura.
Right, to break the auras. Because the good thing about going against Prism is we would play Mandible Claws. So even with 4 pitch, as I said, a tunic, and if you roll a dice for 2 action points, you can do claw with a tunic and a blue resource to clear 2 tunics at its worst. And obviously the action point comes from the Scab Skin Leathers. Again, it's the only legs I play, because it has a Battle Worn for 3 extra block. That's blocking, 3 extra health. So this is actually very good. Yeah. Okay, and I would play 1 Null Rune. This is usually, I rarely use this now. I might consider taking it out, because what I've experienced playing against Viscerai is a lot of them are playing OTK. So regardless if you have the Null Rune or not, you're gonna die.
Oh yeah, in his big turn.
Yeah, in the big turn. When he pops the Sonata, 20 Rune Chant with a Scalata and the Sonata, and then you will just die no matter what. So there's no reason to block the 1 Rune Chant at all.
Why not more pushing with aggressive play?
Yeah, I would go more aggressive, so that's why I would use Goliath Gauntlet instead. So sometimes I would use this with Command and Conquer to do more pushes, force them to block a little bit more. And sometimes I would even use this with Big Swing to throw in a 10 at them, something that gives them more lethal, and then they would be forced to block. So that is my equipment so far. Yep. Going into more of the deck itself is above here, the line and above.
Yeah, we can divide it into 2 parts.
Right.
The core build with separate into red, yellow, and blue. This is the core deck. Right. And here's the sideboard. Right.
Okay, so the core deck, it's kind of a mix in between of the what we call the claws build for Levia and the clubs build. What is more extra in this build is obviously I'm playing Rainbow Pummels.
Yeah, is it PH can explain to our viewers to your basic deck building strategy for
Yeah.
the Gameplan,
So-
and which is make up the card picking.
Right. So as I mentioned, a lot of the plays will revolve around the tunic, the one tunic. So most of the time, what we want to do is Levia has a lot of 2-cost attacks.
Yep.
For example, she has access to brute cards.
Yes.
The new big swing card, which is coming in for 8. She has her own card, Shadow Brute card,
card.
which comes in for 7, and obviously more generics, Command and Conquer.
Yes.
So with a blue pitch and a tunic per se, the counter, that's 4 pitch. So what you could do is you could use this with a pummel of any color to force your opponent's hand disruption. And hand disruption is actually very, very key in this meta right now, especially with StarVoil around, because they need their hands to fuse. If they don't have, or if they're missing one hand, they might not be able to fuse, and their return damage will probably be a Winter's Wail for 4, or just coming in for 7 damage on Evergreen with a 3 pitch. So it actually takes a lot of damage away from them.
Yeah,
While-
if you hit the pommel, at least -4 attack.
Right, right, and they lose 4 health too, right?
4 health, yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of breaks into their health a lot. So that's what I like about this. And pommels, actually, they work very, very well into the meta decks right now because they're all very hand dependent. For example, Prism. Prism has Spectral Shields, and what pommel does is, you know what, a Prism will probably leave Spectral Shields. A pommel would ride over the Spectral Shields and break their Spectral Shields.
Yes.
Right? So it forces them to give up their shields.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one thing that's very important and is good against Prism. And another thing is against Viscerai, when if you can line up a Command and Conquer with a pommel, and they happen to have a Sonata in their arsenal, right? It's pretty much a big game loss for them. It's very lethal for them. So that's why this is, I think the set of pommels is very MVP in this playstyle of the deck.
Can I conclude your basic strategy of the game plan is surrounding by the pommel?
That is one part of it, because for brutes, we have a lot of big damage cards. So what we want to do is we want to do something called value trading. For example, a normal card, for example, like Pack Hunt, would present 6 attack, 3 block. It costs 2 and it would give 1 pitch. This is what I call standard damage, right? But more brute cards, they usually have additional text.
Yes.
Similar to what Command and Conquer does. As
additional ability.
Additional ability. So with brutes, they don't really have the additional text here, but what they do is they have additional damage.
Yes.
So basically, this card is 2 value above the standard attack damage card.
Yeah. Can you explain to us what is your how to calculate the value of the cards?
Yeah. So how I evaluate the card is, for example, each card, for example, attack actions, you would basically add up their the pitch,
the resource, it can give.
Yep, the pitch with the attack, so that's 7, and then the defense, so that's 10. When you use the 10 and then you subtract the cost of the card, so this would represent an 8 value.
That means it's 1 plus 6, 7. 7 plus 3 is 10. 10 minus 2
would
is
be an 8. Right. And the additional text it gives additional value, right? So basically, this card is already above standard value.
Maybe 8.5 or
8.5 or even more, because if it hits an arsenal, you're probably gaining 3 value off a card because they're losing 1 card, right?
Yeah.
Right. So it would be around, if it hits, it would be above value for Command and Conquer.
Okay, that means in your calculations, a normal card is supposed to get a 8 value.
Right.
If the card is generating more than 8
value,
that's a good card.
That's a good card.
I
yes,
see.
Exactly. That's what I would consider a very, very good card. So, for example, Big Swing again. Big Swing, it has a negative effect. If it doesn't hit, your opponent gets a quicken token. But my thought is, what if I use a pummel and make sure it hits? Then I would be always gaining the 2 additional value off the attack.
I see.
Right.
This is 1 plus 8, 9, 12. This is 10.
2. This is a 10 value card.
Oh, this is
so
really good.
This is really good above value. Right. So as we go down on each Levia's cards, we can actually take a look at their values. So this one again is 1 plus 7, that's 8, and then that's 11, minus 2, 11 minus 2,
It's
so
a
this is
9.
a 9. So
It's a
again,
9.
it's above value by 1 already. So obviously it's actually a good
Yeah,
card
more
in
than
terms of
8.
damage, more than 8. Right. And we can look at another MVP in this deck is called Endless Maw. It presents 1, 6, and 3. So when you add it up, it's actually just, you know what? It's 10 minus 3.
It's a 7.
It's a 7, but it has an additional effect. If it banishes a 6, it gains plus 3.
Oh, that's a 9. Should be counted as 9.
So you can count this as a 9. So in a sense, this card is actually presenting 1, 10, 13, minus 3. So it
this is
presents a 10.
Oh, that's a really good
That's
card.
a really good card value off 3 pitch.
Yes.
Right. So by using cards like this, you can maximize the value of the deck and pushing more damage than a normal standard deck would be presenting. Right. So again, this is the red package because you will need a lot of cards that have 2 cost to work with the pummels.
Yes.
Right. And for the core, I also have Enlightened Strike. Just in case for situations where you are playing into a prism, you would have a 3-card hand, you would play Enlightened Strike, and then you would put 1 card to the bottom, pick go again, hit Prism's body for 5.
Yeah, and then swing for the aura.
And then swing for the aura,
Yeah.
right? So this is actually very good against decks like Prism.
Yes.
And at its worst, you can use 2 cards. If you have 2 red cards in hand and you are out of pitch, you don't have any pitch, you can bring the red card to the bottom and swing for 7.
Yeah.
Which is still standard value. 7 on a 2-card hand is
2 hand for 7.
Yeah, it's a standard value.
Just
so
like pitch 2, swing 6.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Pitch 2, swing 6, or even pitch 1 blue for swing 7. So the damage is quite even. So I really, really like this card. And going from the reds are here, and then going to the yellows. Yellows are pretty much, if I'm playing defensively, they're more for either pitching into the clubs.
Yes.
Because the clubs, again, are just
It's 2 resources.
It's a 2
swing
resource.
for 4.
Right, it's a 2 for damage. So this fits really well.
Yes.
And at its worst, it's a 3 block.
Yes.
Right, so you can block with it for 3.
Yeah, most of the blue card is blocking 3.
Yes.
Good blocking.
Yeah, so I always make sure my deck has a good enough blocking.
Yes.
Yeah, for all the cards that have that are in my deck. And even for brutes need a lot of 6 attacks.
Yeah.
To run, so that's why I keep these in the
For
yellow
discarding?
for discarding or even for emergency pitching.
Yes.
And so on and so forth. And going over to the core blues, I actually play a lot of blues.
21 blue?
21 blues.
Yeah.
The reason why is because I don't treat the pummels as blues.
I see.
I want to use the pummels.
Oh, so that's just totally 24.
No, there's 21 with the pummels.
I
But
see.
normally I am, I think the deck, a 60 card deck should have around 18 to 19 blues
Yeah.
for around 80% chance of having 1 blue in hand.
Yes.
Right, right. So I do a lot of numbering and calculations, and you know what? I want these pummels for more offensive.
Yeah, can be play out instead of pitching.
Instead of pitching. So I have more blues than usual.
Yes.
So speaking more into the blues, because I don't think brutes right now have very, very good blue cards.
Yeah,
I think not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough. I would definitely want more that have 6 attack and 3 block like this.
Yeah, this is a traditional good one.
Yeah, this is, I think, one of the best blue cards for brutes. And Levia has 1 specialization called Soul
extra
Harvest.
one.
That's an extra one. So that's these are basically a must-have in any
Brute
Levia deck. This is for Levia.
yeah.
So for Levia, it is very good. And these are more flexible cards.
Yes.
You can actually play whatever you want, because I'm just playing them for either it's a 3 block or they have a minor effect that helps the deck. So basically, for example, Barraging Beatdown, if I really want to play it, I can play it and force my opponent 2 hands.
Yes.
So if I use Barraging, Clubs, this would come in for 6 damage.
Yeah, still good.
It's still good, it's still good. And they get Intimidate 1.
Yes.
Right, so it's a usable blue in that sense. Okay, and cards like this and Convulsions, they have additional text which fits Levia's character. They can banish. Right, and when they can banish cards, you basically you don't take the blood debt damage. So these are again like a save your day emergency kind of cards. And what I like about this card, the Convulsions card, is by the end game, it's a 2 cost.
2 cards.
So what you could do is if you happen to be able to keep a 3 card hand or even a 4 card hand, You could do something like convulsions
Mm-hmm.
by pitching blue,
Yeah.
tunic 1 counter, and you can come in for 7 dominate.
Ah, yeah.
Right, so that is another potential of
Endgame strategy.
endgame strategy. This is just 7, but what if you pair it with something like this? So that's coming in for a 9 dominate.
And that's really
That's
good.
really good, right? Or even you have a chance of playing Command and Conquer Dominate.
Still can.
You can, yep. This applies to any attack action card,
Oh,
not
I
just
see.
brutes. So 7 dominate. So for sure you can take away their arsenal,
Yeah.
right? So I think this card is actually quite good in this build. And for the other tech cards that I'm trying is this round's on me. At worst, again, it's a 3 block.
Mm-hmm.
And at best, what it does really good is it goes really well into decks like Chain,
Mm-hmm.
Briar, Prism.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you play this, you can basically with, for example, if you have a blue pitch,
Mm-hmm.
you could pitch a blue, play this, you could draw 1 card back,
Mm-hmm.
and their next turn, all their attacks lose 1 damage. So basically the auras will do no damage.
Oh, I see.
So it's very good into the curve of, you know what, let's go again. I can also swing a club.
Is it fit on the rune chain?
It does not work on the rune chant because it's only physical yellow damage.
Oh, okay.
So it works on, for example, the auras because they're weapons, right? And it can take away their damage, so they do no damage. Kodachis, it works. Again, Kodachis, it's very good against Katsu. And again, at its worst, it's just a 3 block. Okay, so I think a lot about blocking in this deck because I want to be able to switch engines into a more blocking deck and a more offensive
control style.
in a control style, and I want to be able to go offensive if I go the clause build. So this card can be actually anything, but again, it's just an Oct 2 and a 3 block. So if you have another blue that you want to try, then you can. It's a flex slot, so you can change it to anything. And as for brutes, it's always good to have 1 reckless swing.
Yeah,
At least
in my mind, I think 1 maybe too lots. You can add 1 more, maybe.
What I am afraid of by bringing 2 is having 2 of them in hand.
I see.
So if you have 2 of them in hand, then it will become you should treat this as a no block.
It's
Right?
really low.
It's really a no block because you need 2 cards to block with this. So 2 cards to block for is actually very undervalued. The only chance you're going to use it is as a finisher to kill your opponent. So I think 1 is enough. And I think in Hong Kong, a lot of players are higher tier, so they always expect that you have it. It's very hard for them to go under 2
the
health.
2, huh?
Yeah, they will try, no matter what, they will try to keep themselves
At 3.
above 3, right, against a brute. So I think 1 is just enough. Again, it can pitch, and worst case, it comes back in the late cycle, then you can use it.
Yep.
Okay, but the main core is here, so we have the offensive cards here. The pummel setup.
Yeah.
These are for basically pitch value, for blocking, for 6 attack fodder, and just enough blues to keep the deck running. Okay, so we will take a look more into the 2 builds that I was talking about. So it's either Claw or Club.
Yeah, for the aggressive build. Any changes in their core to combine with the sideboard?
Yeah, for sure. So basically my deck right now, the core is of 51 cards.
Yes.
So my sideboard is actually 18 cards. What I do is I bring in 9 cards that are more offensive to the game plan.
Okay,
so
then your deck will maintain in the 60
I will
cards
maintain 60 cards at all times.
to make it the cards get in the right card
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
Yeah, I always wanted to make sure it's consistent enough that I don't mess up the balance and the ratios of the blues and the yellows and the reds.
Yes.
So 60 is perfect because, as I said before, I calculated it's 81% to get
the blue card
every turn, and even with the yellow, it's around like 93-95% to get it. So basically, it's very safe that you will always have a blue or a yellow in hand to at least do something with your hand. So. As we all know, for brutes, I think the main MVP for aggressiveness is Blood Rush Bellow.
Yeah.
Because with, for example, 6 or 7 resources, it can present up to 18 damage.
Yeah, 2 claw for 10.
Yeah, 2 claw for 10, and the
5
last one.
5 for 5, and then maybe a 6 plus 2.
At least 6 plus 2, at least a 6 plus 2, right? But with this deck, what you could do is, big swing. It could come in for 10.
Lethal.
It's lethal damage. This can come in for 9.
9.
Again, this would intimidate 1, come in for 8. So that's standard damage. But with this would if you play 2 costs, you would need at least 7 resources.
Yes.
So again, the tunic, the extra resources solves that issue. So you can still do claw into a 2 cost.
Yeah.
So with the blood
After
rush,
you drawing 2 cards.
right. So that would present a good amount of 18 damage. Another good way to play it is with another key card that is Levia only is Boneyard Marauder.
It's a shadow blue card.
It's a shadow brute card, and it has an additional text where you have to banish 3 cards as Blood Debt. It's very dangerous to use, but the damage it presents is very, very good because with 2 blue pitches, you would be subtracting 1 from Blood Rush Bellow,
Yes.
2 from Claws, so that's 3, another 2 from the second Claws,
5.
that's 5, and you have 1 remaining for Boneyard
If you're
Marauder.
picking 2 blue
2
cards.
blue cards, right, which is perfect. And you would come in for 8.
Oh, it's 18
Because
with 2
Blood
blue.
Rush. Yeah,
This is really
this is
good.
really good value. So if it's the aggro build, obviously I would bring in the Boneyard Marauder. Okay, and the Blood Rushes.
And the blood rush, of course, is combining with the Beast Within.
The Beast Within, yeah. For Beast Within, it's very good if you, for example, have a very good setup. In this deck, you have to play very patiently.
Patient.
Yeah, because some people would rush themselves to play Blood Rush to force damage, but what you
For
can't...
a high aggressively build with full of blood.
With full Blood Debt, you could do that, I think, because their 6 ratio is much higher, and it's basically damage pushing. But with this build, what you really want to do is you want to alternate between several kind of plays. You want to alternate from pummels, pummel turns, Blood Rush turns, and even some we call off turns. Off turns are basically trying to maintain 1 attack and 1 pitch.
Yeah,
to
and
present
blocking
at
with
least
2 cards.
Yeah, with blocking. So that is a standard kind of hand for this play. But if you can keep a bigger hand, you could do plays that are much more wider. Because Levia herself has a lot of go against. For example, this card, Dread Screamer, if you banish a 6 attack from your graveyard, it gains go again. And it comes in for 6 and it's 2 cost. So with 4 or more cards in hand, you could present Dread Screamer, and it could go into something like a big swing.
Whoa.
That is still presenting 14 damage with 4 pitch.
Yeah, this is 3 card hand.
That's a 3 card hand. Yeah.
With 1 tunic.
Yeah, with 1 tunic.
Really
so
good.
It's very, very good value, right? So what Levia can do compared to other decks is she can really build up on that value by taking more, more risk. Because again, she has a chance of killing herself, and she has a chance of building a lot more Blood Debt. But my build right now, I'm playing very little Blood Debt cards.
Yeah, I find that.
Yeah, you find that I'm only playing basically 1, 2, 3, 4. So 12 cards. So what I usually do is if it's very early into the game, and I, for example, see too many Blood Debt cards in hand, I would actually pitch them away.
For the late game, for the
finisher. Because at that time, if you're swinging 9 with the 9 pitch by late game, I don't think your opponent can handle that damage. Or even if you're doing like things that are above curve, it's very hard for them to maintain.
And delay the Blood Debt effect at the end game.
Right. Keep it to the late game, because early game you can always push damage with just regular CNC, swing big, Enlightened Strike, or even plays like pummel plays, pack on pummel. So you actually have enough damage to bring them to the end game state.
Even doing a full block and wait for the chance.
Yes, that works as well.
You still have the room to do that.
Yeah, you have the room to do that. So it's a very, very patient deck. And especially when you're playing with Blood Rush, some people would really rush their hands. I'll build a sample hand is, something like this with 2 or 2 blues first. So some people would probably try to rush themselves, pitch a blue and then just randomly discard. But what I do with Blood Rush is I want to make sure that I always dump a 6. Yeah. So something like this, but obviously the best choice is with Beast Within, a 3 card hand. So you can pitch a blue, play this, and then it would drop a you would have 2 floating.
Yeah.
Discard the beast within,
Discard.
and then you would
You
draw.
get a 6.
Right.
You're drawing 2 cards.
You're drawing 3 cards actually
three cards,
because of
yeah.
beast within effect. So it has a self-replacement effect, and again, it's a combo play. It's you have to be very patient, and the optimal way to play this is probably having an attack ready set up in your arsenal. Right. So you can still do claws, and then with the attack from arsenal for closing on the blood rush.
And in the game, will you just try to place your blood rush in your arsenal and wait for the good chance?
Yes, I would do either this deck. I think the good thing about this deck is it has a lot of very, very good arsenal targets. I think any card from this side, so from here on, are very good arsenal targets.
Oh,
because you can
very wide choice.
Very wide choice because it's either your arsenal or pummel.
Yeah, this is
That's a good arsenal target, of course, or your arsenal a 2-cost attack.
Yes.
And wait for a pummel.
Yes.
Or you arsenal just an attack or a command and conquer for next turn. You return damage, or as you just said, arsenaling a blood rush and waiting for the perfect hand.
Okay, and the cycle is waiting for 3 turns and go explosive for each 3 turns because your tunic counter will go into 3.
Well, the most explosive turn would be on the tunic turn because you can do, as I said, the 2-card hand play where it's just maybe a pack hunt, a blue pitch, and then a pummel. Right, that's a very explosive turn. But sometimes when I do have the chance of a hand, for example, like a command and conquer, pummel
and the blue pitch,
a 1 blue pitch, or even 1 red, I would look at my opponent and see if that damage is worth taking.
Yeah.
If it's worth taking and I still don't have my tunic counter, I would still go with keeping this hand and making a return. Because if I do a command and conquer, pitch this, I would have 1 floating, pitching a red, I would still be able to do this.
Yes.
I am taking way more value from my opponent from decreasing their arsenal and a hand.
Yeah.
Right.
And denying their defense reactions.
Denying their defense reactions or even denying their return of damage. So it depends. And that's basically how the aggressive side of this build steals tempo. Right.
And in the impression, and also it's seems very easy to pilot if you have the basic concept for the game plan strategy.
Yeah, if you have the game plan strategy, I think it's very easy to pilot. But I think the main problem with this deck is you have to count your graveyard a lot.
I see.
Yeah, it's a lot of graveyard awareness because you don't want to be blocking too much with your blood deck cards early. And sometimes you just, even if you have blood deck cards that you want to play, you want to play it very carefully.
Yeah.
So
wait for the good time.
Wait for the good time to play it because, for example, some of these blood deck cards, they don't have additional effects. So these can be played anytime. But you don't want their banish effects to basically banish a blood deck to start your timer. Your time bomb is ticking. You don't want the time bomb to start so early. So if you're, for example, if your grave you were blocking with a lot of blues and just the normal yellows, and none of them have blood death, then you can use them.
I see.
Right. So otherwise, you would try to pitch them to the bottom, and just wait for the perfect time to use it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically the deck idea for the aggro side. Yeah. So again, alternate between blood rush, pummel plays, and go again plays with enlightened strike and dread screamers to force as much damage as possible. Yeah. And for this build, what I usually play it for is I usually race it with Prism. Any decks that don't really have hit effects. So maybe OTK Viscerai. Or even Chain if you can see if you can outrush them. But it's very hard. I think it's a very hard matchup, Chain, because they have the Carrion Husk, they have more health. And other decks, maybe even Lexis. You can race them. They
you can buy pommel to deny their hands.
Exactly.
To stop their
big turns.
From arrow with their on hit.
Because they need 4-card hands to really do a lot of damage for those kind of decks. So this is the aggro side. So now I will take more time to talk about the key part of why I want to play Levia, because we all know Levia has a very aggressive side in her normal build. But the reason why Levia works in this current meta, I think, is because you can side out more of her blood deck cards. So I would side out this package, and I would bring in actually 9 defense reactions. And this is 6 unmovables.
Yeah, this is targeting their StarVoil.
Yeah, with the players in Hong Kong, there's about I think 40-50% players at least playing StarVoil.
Yep.
This is a very, very good for playing against StarVoil.
With the Okano,
Yep.
and with the +2
Yep.
and Fuse,
Yep.
and the Creeping Crush.
Yeah. So basically, what you want to do is when you are playing against a StarVoil or even again decks with hit effects like the Rymphia, if you set an unmovable in your arsenal, you are very comfortable.
Yeah.
You feel very safe throughout the game until
You have the peace of mind.
Yeah, I have the peace of mind to play the game slowly. Okay, you know what? Come. You can use your Okano, and even if they throw an Okano with, for example, I think 11 damage,
Yeah.
I could, blue pitch
For
8,
for blocking from Arsenal, blocking 8.
Blocking 8
with
and
a
then
hand card
a
with
hand
3,
card with 3.
which is a clean block.
A clean block, a perfectly good block, and it denies, they use so much resources just to wait for the Okano, right?
Yeah, and you can use up their flat card.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
they just have 6 cards with their hand destruction.
Right. Yeah, so if you have to be very patient against StarVoil as well, because you're playing clubs. So what your game plan against that play is, you want to block as much as possible with 3 cards in hand, keeping a yellow or a blue pitch to swing back with the clubs every turn. So maintain at least the minimum pressure.
Yeah, and then you have to, even if the leaking 1 damage is still good.
It's still good because eventually the leak will stack up.
We stack up, yeah.
It will stack up to a certain amount. So always keep the unmovables and sink belows for the big 2, Crippling Crush and Okano. Yeah. I would recommend for, I have some experience where I got Hyrule by StarVoil.
Yeah.
But that is normal, I think. There's nothing you can do because I have faced some StarVoils where they would use Awakening.
Yeah.
They would then use Pulverize for 14 damage.
16.
16 or 14 damage.
Yeah, 16 if fused.
Yeah, if fused. And then basically the next turn you cannot do any damage because it decreases 4 attack.
Yeah, -4.
So you might as well just full block with your whole hand that turn and just wait patiently. Don't rush to use your unmovables on an Awakening Pulverized turn. Always save these for the Okano and the Crippling Crush. Yeah, always. So otherwise, the game plan is obviously, as Terry just said, is try to leak as much as possible. And the reason why I think this build works quite well against StarVoil is because I play a high amount of blue pitch. And what StarVoil likes doing is they like to do dominate 9 damage, and then they like to use their Winter's Wail for 4 damage with a Frostbite. So at worst, if you do have a Frostbite,
you still can use
blue. 1 blue, and you can still return for 4.
That's a good math.
Yeah, that is very good mathematically because you know what, the return is still there, and then I basically only block with 3 to leak 1, and then I'm swinging back with 4. So eventually it would even out in a sense. So I think it's very comfortable that way.
Yeah, and the blocking value of the deck is much better than StarVoil.
Yes,
StarVoil have many 2 block cards.
Yes, yeah. So eventually they will leak at the by the end when we're both playing with blues. In the deck, this deck will have the advantage for sure because they will not have they may not be able to fuse, and then you will be forcing them to block with 2 cards in hand, and they have no return if they only have 2 cards in hand, right? So again, a lot of blues for this build, and sink belows are very good as well to block the Winter's Wails, and also it's very good again if you want to sink a card, you have full red hand, you can sink it and replace it. So it depends on the situation on when to use it. But against a StarVoil, you really want to present as much damage as possible. So if let's say you have a Tunic turn and you happen to have a 6 attack, for example like Big Swing and Blue Pitch, and a Pummel. So you can play a play like this. If their last turn was not a lot of damage, it's just a Dominate 9 and a Winter's Wail. You could use your equipments to block the Winter's Wail, and then you can come in back with this play. And this play hurts them a lot because it basically turns their powerful turn into an off turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
because even they knew you maybe have a pommel in your arsenal,
yeah,
they still consider to take it.
they will consider to take it because they can't block it all. There's no way they can block it all, and if they block it all, it's even better for our deck because you will return with more damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at least you should always in this deck of mine again is to try and present 4 damage with the club every turn, and at least to present, if you can, 6 damage with a blue. So just even trading, right?
Yeah.
Just try to trade until the end, and once we get to the end game when we have enough cards, we can use higher damage cards like the swing bait and the small to kind of push over the damage and try to force them to lose the game. And what I really like about the pommels in this build is pommels work with the romping club as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can also use a blue pitch romping club and then you can pommel for 8 damage.
Yeah, as a finisher, it's
As
still
a finisher, it's still very good. So a lot of opportunities to basically take down StarVoil, and especially if the StarVoil is an inexperienced player and they have not much experience against this deck. I think Levia is very good, especially as I just showed you. We can play an aggro build and a Guardian kind of style of play.
And in your calculation, you may have a 50-50 matchup with the StarVoil?
Yes, so far I have played I think around 6 StarVoils in all of ProQuest. I have had I think a 50-50 win rates against them.
Then it's really good.
Yes, because the deck is built to counteract their deck. So having 50% against a meta deck and with a lower tier deck, I think is actually quite good, especially StarVoil having such a high win rate already.
Yeah, 60 something by other people's calculations.
Yeah. And for maybe other decks, again, meta decks, we would be focusing on Prism a lot.
Yeah, Prism.
There will be a lot of Prisms because they will be trying to counter the StarVoil decks. And I think my deck, if I go to Claws build, it has a very good chance against the Prisms. Maybe I would say 40%, maybe at least 60% is on us.
Yeah, 60% favor to Levia.
To Levia, yeah, because again, we are brutes and we have a lot of go against. But again, now that Prisms are trying to adapt to the game a lot more with a higher aura count, they can still Hyrule you with auras, and sometimes, you know what, the scab skins are just not very good because you can do double ones, you can get no action points, and this could throw you the game. But
you again, still have a chance to get rid of double aura in one
we
turn.
have a chance to get rid of double auras, and we can pummel over the spectral shields. And if they use cards of Phantasm, we can always brick it with
with the
a high amount of six attacks, right? And that is a very comfortable deck to play against.
And I think you're too humble, because I think it's much more higher than 60.
I think right now, I think more decks more Prism players are adapting because this deck is out there already, and then some people are more scared of it. And a lot of Hong Kong players that play Prism understand that if they run into me, they will be playing against this deck. So they already have the mindset, you know, they will be playing how to play against me, or have a general idea of what my
your game playing.
Yeah, my gameplay.
Yeah, I'm playing Prism in the ProQuest, and my way to deal with you is avoid to match with you.
Yeah, avoid to match with me. Right? Yeah, I think that's the best way to
get away from you.
Get away from me. Yeah. Again, the big three right now again is another deck is called Viscerai. I think
the old Rune Blade.
Yeah, the old Rune Blade. I think this deck actually has a very bad matchup against Viscerai because one, we don't have enough to block them. We don't have enough utility like Ohim can, you know, use maybe their equipment to block, or they have a lot of blues to, you know, to pitch. But
to utilize their rune chant.
To utilize the rune chants. But if a Viscerai does get to like 20 rune chants by turn 4 or 5, they can basically one turn kill you. So what I mentioned earlier is I just use the aggro build in that case. Yeah, I don't even block. I just try to push as much as I can, line up a CNC pummel turn as early as possible
to get away their Arsenal Sonata.
Yeah, to get rid of their Arsenal Sonatas. and that is basically the best way to deal with a Viscerai. If you can keep pressing them with pummels and CNCs and then end up having a broad rush turn to do enough damage, it is possible to kill them.
Yeah. I think the taking call is the rune chain up to 18.
Yeah.
Is almost one turn kill.
It's one turn kill. I think at least 18 is one turn kill. And I've actually played a lot of Viscerai four Viscerai in the ProQuest season, and I've only won one of them. And the reason why I won that one is because I went first.
I see.
Yeah, because what I think about the Viscerai is if they go first, they have a free turn to set up.
Yeah, they do get one rune chain and
at least one.
Yeah.
And if lucky, they can get maybe 4 or 5.
If they had the module tie in
module tied in turn 1, 4 or 5, or even maybe 8. So if that happens, then there's nothing you can really do about it. I usually take a loss against the Viscerai. I think maybe my win rate against the Viscerai is 30 to 40%, and they would be very favored against this deck. Yeah.
And I think 640 is still acceptable.
It's acceptable. I think it's acceptable because there is win condition at least.
Yeah.
We have a win condition, and it's very hard because you know what, they are more of a controlling deck, and they don't really attack you early game. And if Levia doesn't get enough graveyard, we don't really do a lot of damage.
Because we just rely, not turning on your engine.
Yeah, we need a lot of cards in graveyard to have a good, powerful engine to push damage.
If they just don't
attack, you won't have an engine. So basically, you are relying on the pummels, the CNC, the swing bigs, and the claws to do as much damage as possible.
And we would take out the blood deck card.
Against
Viscerai?
Against Viscerai, I would still try to keep them because the blood deck cards are too good in terms of a damage value. But what I would do, I bring in is actually more disposable equipment. For example, what I said earlier is these.
Yeah.
So even if they don't give you graveyard, you can make your own.
I see.
Right. So at worst, I can have one here, and then I would have 2, and then I would generate my own graveyard and try to push as much damage as possible.
Yeah, still good.
Because I actually had on my finals with it was against Kaiser,
Viscerai,
and he was playing Viscerai, and I had he had 7 health left, and I was at about I think 30 health.
30 something.
I was very high on that, but then it was just I did a blood rush turn. Very, very unlucky. I had a very good blood rush turn. I mean,
you drew 2 reds.
I drew 2 reds.
Yeah.
So at that time, I was actually using Skullcap instead of this helmet. But if I had the Hope Merchant's Hood, I could have turned the game around by pushing at least 8 more damage, forcing him to give up his hand.
Is it an upgrade equipment after the ProQuest?
This is an upgrade, yeah. I had it before, I took it out, but then I realized, you know what, it's actually good for the meta.
You can replace to the AB one.
Maybe. I think I don't really need the AB one because you're not really trying to block the AB. You really want to force as much damage as possible.
Even in the matchup of Briar and Chain.
And Chain as well. Yeah, you don't really need to block. Yeah, so you would rather rush them as quickly as possible. Other than the Kaiser matchup, I think the biggest change would be the Hope Merchants and hope for another blue. I just needed one more blue to make sure I do enough damage to get the 2 claw out. But that was very unfortunate. But very good game still. Kaiser is a very experienced player, so he knows how to deal with the matchup very well. And even before the finals,
and he played very patient in the final.
Yeah, exactly. He played very, very patiently.
Yeah, I see that matches on live, and you just to push the damage with 3 cards, 4 cards, and Kaiser just block with 3 or all the cards.
Yeah, and just slowly
wait for their turn.
Yeah, wait for a big turn.
Stack up their win chain.
Right. So that would be the biggest change. And even if a very funny match was, I think in top 4, I matched up with a Kano. And the Kano matchup, I actually don't have enough AB for Kano because I don't even have the Skullhorn, and I just basically I never expected Hong Kong to have a Kano player in CC. So I don't prepare.
Avoid to
I avoided
seeing them is
fine. Avoid seeing them is fine, and it happened. So he made it in top 4, and it was very fortunate that my build with the pummels it controlled the candle very easily because they lose the hand, they can't make enough returns, and every time I'm doing so much more damage than they expected. I'm doing maybe pushes like pummel turns, CNC with the Goliath gauntlets. You know, they had so much pressure, and at the worst time, sometimes I would intimidate with the blue cards and still force their hands. So it was a very, very unique match. But overall, I think this build is still a work in progress. Hopefully, there will be more cards for the brutes.
Yeah, for the new coming from the new set.
Yeah, or maybe even hopefully the new starter, the Reiner starter deck.
Oh yes.
Yeah, maybe there will be some improvement cards or some specialization cards for brutes.
Yes.
That would be very, very helpful. I think right now brute is a very underrated deck. And very under tier, but at least I am pretty confident in riding into the current meta of high StarVoil and high Prism. It would do actually quite well in the right hands.
Yeah, also it's much better than other regular strong heroes, just like Gatsu or Derivia can more suitable in this matter now.
Again, because I don't think there are a lot of decks that can do a engine switch into a Guardian and an aggression deck.
In a multi-way.
In a multi-way where you can adapt to two different plays. An old deck that can do this was maybe Control Dash.
And Viscerai
itself. But Viscerai is very hard to go into a kind of a Guardian type of deck. You really need a good weapon to do this play. So you need maybe Romping Club to do the Guardian play. It's kind of like the old Bravo, where you would block with 3 cards and then you would swing back with a 1 weapon. You know, the concept was built kind of based on the old Bravo.
Yeah, and the deck building part will be here, and we're going to a sample matchup with StarVoil and Prism.
Okay, we will do some testing for you guys. Okay.